Hi again. Here we are to continue our discussion of our movie app, and we've got the movies loaded in the table view. And what I'd like to do now is set up a detail view. So you can tap on the cell and then go to the detail view. So the first thing I'm going to do is we'll need a navigation controller so we can go from one view to the next. So what I'll do is I'll click on the table view controller, make sure it's selected, and then I'll go to the editor here, the editor menu, and choose Embed in Navigation Controller. So we need a navigation controller to manage our, moving from one view to the next, okay? So here we are. Now we got our navigation controller, and it's the starting spot, and then its root view is the table view, okay? Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's add another view controller that will be our detail view. So I'll drag this out here. And what I want to do is I want to create a segue. So when you tap this cell, it takes us to this detail view. So I'm going to control click from the cell, the table view cell, and drag over to this new view controller. And then I'll choose show as the type of segue. And then we have a segue here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to give this segue a name. So I'll click on it, and then I'll give it the name, the identifier here. I'll click on it, go to the properties, and it says storyboard segue identifier, and then I'll say to details segue. Okay? So we'll use this name later, so don't forget that that name is there, right? Okay? And then we'll set this up. Well, you can do some more detail on this later, but maybe for right now, I'll just put a label here for the name, and we'll call this like movie name or something, right? I'll put this here, and then maybe I want to have a UI image view, and I'll have the image for a movie show up here, right? So let me make this a little smaller here. I'll leave the constraints out. Maybe I'll do those in the next video, right? And we'll kind of clean this up. And then if you had other things, you could add other text fields in here or other elements, right? But we'll just put those two in there and see if we can get it to work. Okay, so we need to do a little setup here, right? So we got our view controller, we set up the navigation controller, we created the segue, right? And if we test it now, we should be able to get here, but it's not going to display the movie data yet. And then the navigation controller will also give us a back button. So if I tap on this, you can see I get to movie name, and the image view would be here, right? If we actually displayed an image and we'd show the name of the movie there, right? And the navigation controller gives us this nav bar and the back button. Okay, so that was pretty easy. Okay, so what else do we need to do? This new view needs a view controller file where we will put the code that runs this view. So let's make a new class. Yeah, maybe I'll just make a new class, and I'll do Command N to make a new file, or you can do File New, and then I'll choose iOS Cocoa Touch class, and then this class will be a UI view controller. Okay, not a table view controller, but a view controller, right? So we'll do UI view controller, and the name will be details view controller. Okay. We could have called it movie details or something like that too, but it could be any name really. So I'll click next, I'll save it to my folder there, and now we need to assign this details view controller to or as the view controller for the new view here in storyboard. So let's go back to storyboard. This view, I'll click on the little yellow thing, make sure it's selected, it'll have a blue outline. We'll go to the identity inspector, and then here it says custom class at the top, and we'll type in details view controller. Okay, and now we'll need to set up IBOutlets for our two UI elements here. So open up both the storyboard and the new details view controller in the assistant editor, and you can do that by option clicking on details view controller here in the outline. Oh, there we go, right? So here's details view controller. I can see it here. Now the class begins here, and it starts, like all the code in the class goes after this curly brace. And then here's this first function, ViewDidLoad, and I don't want to put the code now in ViewDidLoad. I want to add some lines here so I can have some space. And then I want to create IBOutlets in this area. Okay, so I'll control drag from the label into here and say movie name. Actually, let's just call it name label. How about that? Right? And then I'll drag from the UI image view into here and say image view, right? And now I've got those connections, right? And they should have little dots right here. And if I hover over, you can see that the UI element that's connected to this IBOutlet gets highlighted in storyboard, right? So we can kind of check that they're connected correctly, okay? So that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll just stop this video here, and then we'll move on to the next, we'll do the rest of the code in the next video.